Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Leaders of the Flock. Really excited here to have Breann Green with us. Spencer is out today, but we are so excited to have Breann come and share with us her insights in recruiting and retention. Remember, this Leaders of the Flock webinar series is not a Ruuster promotional series. This is very much us interviewing some of the brightest minds in the industry, trying to bring some real value to the community. And we've been really grateful to be working with Breann for a few years now and watched her grow significantly. Quite frankly, she's crushing it, doing really well. Adding tens of agents, dozens of agents, hundreds of deals a year. And I asked her after seeing her present at the rate event in April if she would come and share with us her information or kind of her background on how she got started, how she got started with her team specifically, how she's recruiting, and also uh, to discuss with us today retention. Retention is a conversation that I think is probably forgotten about. Folks spend a ton of time talking about recruiting, 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 as they should, like not to downplay the importance there. But obviously, if you're not retaining agents on the back end, then you're going to have to work twice as hard recruiting, and um, just only half of the equation here. So, Breann, why don't we start with just you giving us your background, how you got here, and when did you realize I need to hire an agent, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being on here with you guys and have absolutely loved working with you. Um, we started building our team in 2021. I started selling real estate in 2006, and in 2020, I personally, with an assistant, actually two assistants, closed 210 homes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, I did not ever want to do that again. Just being totally honest. But I hit a wall the end of that year, and sat down and spoke with my husband, Zach, who works with me on our team. He does all of our operations and systems. And I was like, I was so frustrated because I knew I had personally capped. I couldn't help more people. I couldn't do more. I was like, I've got to start to figure out another way. There's more business that I have than I can do. Um, and so a few weeks later, one of my great friends, Bernie Gallerini, was on a mastermind, and he had started a team a few years before and was talking about it. And I called him right after and I was like, Bernie, can my husband and I come out and see you? I want to see what you're doing, figure out what to do, and if that's the right, path for us to go on. We did that in February, spent the next couple months building out systems and hired our first agents in June. And so we really hit the ground running about mid 2021, and here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize that you had been working as an individual agent for 15 years before you started a team. That's pretty amazing, actually. And over 200 deals is phenomenal. What was so you hired your first agent in 2021. You're about to onboard your 40th agent currently, right?
Right.
So that is some awesome growth as well. Tell me about when you hired your first agent, you had what seemed to be a much more you were much more deliberate, it sounds like, and you plan to grow a team. I feel like a lot of agents, like their story is I accidentally started a team. And when you accidentally do something like that, you typically don't build a great foundation, and those teams don't ever
No, you
scale the way
don't.
they're supposed to. So tell us about that planning process. You planned, you got your systems in place, and then how did you find that first agent? What was that conversation like?
So Zach and I did a great job of getting our systems in place. We, got follow-up bus in place and started getting leads in place and, what we thought were the right systems. And
Mhm.
then we started advertising on Indeed and getting the word out there and found some agents. And I think we hired, if I remember correctly, 7 that summer. And we had a general idea, Randy, of what we wanted in an agent. And kind of went into this whole team building thing of going, well, if I give you the playbook of how I built my real estate business and I give you the training and all of these things and hold your hand, You're going to come in and do it and sell a lot of real estate. Oh my goodness, was I so wrong?
This is what I did. It will work for you too, I swear. Just do it.
Yeah, it does not work that way because what I found was a lot of real estate agents wanted to come in and just wanted the easy button. They thought joining a team was, oh, I'm just going to get this business in my lap and I don't really have to do any of the work for it. And
Mhm.
so, what Zach and I quickly realized once we brought on our first few agents, and two of the first agents we brought on are still with us today. The others we brought on are not in real estate at all. But we realized, you know what? We need to get clear on what kind of an agent we want. What are our expectations? What is the right kind of agent we want? Who are the agents we can really help? What are those standards? What's the culture we want to have here in the company? How are we going to keep them here once they get here? And so we realized there were a whole bunch of systems and processes we had to put in place on that side of the company. And
Mhm.
so we started doing that. And that's just been something we have been relentless on working on over the last 5 years. And I think that's why we have such a low turnover rate. We have a lot of the agents that are originally with us. The ones that make the standards, they stay, they beg to stay, they don't leave. And the people that have left, I think we counted it up the other day, and only three of those are actually still in real estate.
No way. So, what I think you said that people could walk away with today and get tons of value already is your perception of being ready to start a team was getting all the systems in place from a technology perspective. But what you realized after bringing the 7 agents on was there was this like team ethos or team culture around standards that was really the foundation that you probably needed more so than the tech in order to make sure you had a foundation where you could grow a team successfully. So tell us like what those standards are and why do you think people are nervous to set standards?
I think ultimately team leaders are nervous to set standards because they hate recruiting. And here's what I've found the longer I've been in this as a team leader is agents resist, and you can call it lots of different terms, lead generating, prospecting. Agents resist that. But yet that's how we grow our business as real estate agents. We have to talk to people, right?
Hmm.
So real estate agents get out of production coming into a team because they don't want to prospect, they don't want to generate business anymore. Okay, if you're not making calls to agents and following up with people 2 hours a day to recruit people consistently to your team, you're not going to have a team. And so I think that's where a lot of the breakdown is. People are scared to put structure and systems and things in place because they're not consistently recruiting. They don't have systems in place to attract the agents. So they're hesitant to ever not bring somebody in because they don't have other people to bring in. And
Mm.
so what we learned was it was like, okay, we've got to have a system to attract our agents. We've got to have a system to convert them once we've attracted them into the door to come in to interview. Then once they've decided to work with us, what's our system to onboard them? How do we get them set up for success? Because the faster you get agents selling and making money, the more likely they are to sell or and stay. You
Mm.
know, if you're not
Mm.
making money, they're not going to be able to stay in the business, right? And then it's like, okay, once we get them selling, how do we retain them? How do we make this where they never want to leave? And that was whenever we started figuring out, okay, that's the loop. And when you're missing any piece of that, that's what creates burnout as a team leader. Because then you're bringing in all these people, but they're leaving or they're not selling, or you have all these unproductive people that you're spending money on every month with the technology, with the leads, with everything you're doing. Not to talk about just the cost of taking your time out of production to help get them up and going. So you really have to kind of streamline that whole system to also be able to have those standards in place. But I think you also asked what were the standards. Is that right?
Yes, yes, sorry. That was 2 questions in one.
Yeah. Okay. So we give our agents 18 months to sell 18 homes. So the first 18 months, because we've noticed in today's market, it can take some agents longer to get up and going. So we initially give them 18 months to get on a one home a month pace. And then after that, the standard to stay on the team is 24 deals a year, which is two a year.
Mhm.
Outside of our very top producing agents, I mean, our per agent productivity on our team is 33.
That's
So the
amazing.
average agent selling 33 homes a year. So we just have those standards, but all of our coaching, all of our leads, all of our technology, all of our admin help, everything we do is pushed towards those standards to help them achieve it. Does that make sense? We don't
Yeah,
just have the
absolutely.
standards without everything else to get them there.
I love that the standard is that's very simple and very easy to understand.
You
I
have to
want,
make it simple and easy for them. Like they
yeah.
know how many calls a week we expect. They know when a lead comes in, what is our expectation of how that lead has worked? How is that moved through follow up boss? Like those are all spelled out. They have all the processes. It's taught on all the time. So all of our leads, all of our standards, all of our expectations, everything are super clear and transparent. And that is really important to see that it's consistent, and see that we don't break those just for somebody. Like those are what we keep. That's our standard. We don't fall below that for anybody. We'll coach you to it if you're falling behind it, and give you some grace and time to get there. But if you're not coachable, you're not getting there, you're not making progress, well, eventually you're going to be asked to go to a different model in the company, or some agents just decide to get out of the business. But that's not too often that we have to do that.
So this is the standard regardless of how long the agent's been in the business, been on your team. This is just if you're part of this organization, it's two deal after your first 18 months, it's two deals a month, on a 12-month basis, and that's it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very simple and easy to understand. Tell me about you mentioned systems in terms of attracting agents. Um, what were some of the pitfalls you discovered in building this system, and um, what does that system look like today?
I would say some of the pitfalls in the beginning was we didn't really have a system. um,
Fair.
I think it surprised me when we came into this team leader role of, oh my goodness, there's so much technology out there. Like, well, just buy this and we'll recruit agents for you, and just this and just that. And, you're just trying to sift through it, and we wasted way too much money trying to figure all of that out. So that was a pitfall.
Mhm.
Definitely vet before you spend money. And something we've learned to do is say, hey, what are some other teams that are working with you that you could give us as a reference, so then we can call and ask them how it's actually working for them. It'll save you a lot of money. Um, just learn from us on that one. But some things we're doing today to attract agents. We've paid ads on Facebook and Indeed. We have those going. We refresh those, I think, quarterly. We're refreshing those, going through those. Social media, I do a lot of reels towards attracting agents, and that's growing just more visibility in our marketplace. People are understanding more of our culture, what's going on here. I share a lot on social media behind the scenes of what's happening here, and the friendships and the culture. So we're starting to get a lot better name in our community as well. People are starting to know us more. So sometimes they're kind of pre-sold before they even come here. We're also agents taking their state exams, or our sales managers calling them. If we've had a agent that we've had a great, cross sale with, our sales manager will call them. And so our sales manager spends 2 hours a day calling through different prospects, setting up interviews, figuring out if someone's a good match for the company or not.
So what I'm hearing you say is early on you tried to use technology to remove yourself from the recruiting process, and you realize that's just not the way it works.
It doesn't work that way. I wish it
Yeah,
did, but
yeah.
it doesn't. You've got to have somebody actively spending time every single day in the recruiting process. And I mean, your
Mhm.
agents can do that too. I mean, we've set up for our agents a referral and sponsorship model. So if they bring in an agent, they get 15% of the commission on that first deal that they close. And then they get 2% on the ongoing life of that agent. Our staff gets a bonus if they recruit somebody. So we incentivize everyone in our company to be out there sharing what we're doing. But I mean, if your agents are selling, they love where they are. They're out there telling other agents that. So it naturally brings in a lot of people too.
Yeah, your agents have to be your best salespeople for your organization.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that makes sense. And having that incentive for them matters also. Like it. it almost doesn't matter what the incentive is versus just having something because I feel like it satisfies the agent's desire to feel like they got a pat on the back, right?
It does. And I think too, the longer your agents see the culture and that it doesn't change as you grow, then they're more likely to bring people in. At first, sometimes your agents are a little reluctant to bring people in because they're like, well, I don't want them to take my leads or, all the stories. So you definitely have to show them over time too. As you grow, this isn't going to change. There's still
Mhm.
enough for everybody.
The culture, I'm glad you mentioned that. The culture change component is very real. Like at Rooster, we were very sensitive about who we hired because culture is very important to us as well. And we just brought on in the last couple of months, we brought on two folks from two other tech companies in the space who have been great and amazing culture fits. Tell us about what you're doing because this kind of transitions a little bit into the retention part of the conversation. What are
Mhm.
you doing to commit to keeping the culture regardless of the growth from 7 to 40 agents?
Okay, one
What's
of
the,
the biggest things that I learned is it does not matter how much money somebody is making you. If they are not a culture fit, they are negative in your organization, you have to get rid of them. And I made that mistake.
elaborate on that.
So, I'll give two examples. One was a staff person, and she was doing a lot what we thought to help us grow the company, but we just kept knowing she was negative. And one of our coaches said to us, they're like, Breann, if you keep talking about somebody, you probably need to let them go. And anyways, we finally did. We're like, okay, this has just reached a breaking point. We can't do this anymore. Fired them and then realized they were undermining so much of our business. Like they were the cause of so much of the stuff not growing. And we were like, oh, okay, lesson learned. And then we had an agent, same thing, very high producing agent, but constantly negative. Like always heard their name come up from our agents and always heard things. And finally, we're like, okay, either this changes or we need to go a different direction. And then what happened was there were agents not coming here because of that person. And
Wow.
so then we all of a sudden, what we thought we lost a great producer ended up being replaced by four agents doing way more volume than they ever did. And so it's one of those things you've got to be willing to go, I'm going to confront this as in our culture. Like it's clear what our culture is. We're talking to those values every day. We're talking to what that culture is. But if someone's not a culture fit, you have to be willing to address it and get rid of them quickly if they're not willing to fit that culture. Um, but then you have to have clarity on what the culture is, Randy. If you don't know what you want your culture to be, then that's hard to recruit to that. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, like I know what our culture is. I know our type of agent that we're recruiting to. And what you find is then when they come in, they're welcome. Like we try to make this a very welcoming environment. They become friends with each other. So then you've got that friend camaraderie. Like our top agents are always willing to help. So you've got that team atmosphere of someone always there, to help, to really guide them through things and not make it scary. A new agent, it's kind of scary if you're coming into a group and you're like, all those friends, how do I fit into this? That's scary.
Well, especially when your average agent closes 33 deals a year, like you're bringing someone into a culture of winning, right? So that can be intimidating for someone. Tell me how is the standard and culture related? Because to me, I almost blend those two together, but I feel like it's not. I feel like they're two separate things, but they have to be related. The
They are
standard,
related. Yeah,
yeah.
I would say they absolutely are. Because it usually, if you have high standards, you're going to have a culture of people that buy into those standards, live up to those standards, work to those standards, right? So
Hmm.
I don't feel like you can really have one without the other.
Hmm.
And so as you ingrain that culture, they're quick to call somebody else out, like, "Hey, that's not how we act at HBB. Like, let's not do that." And then they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll receive that. I get that every day. So they definitely play into it. But also I think it's really important too that your agents are competitive, like there's a competitive environment, but they're never competing with each other for the same business.
Sure.
Like you got to always make sure like they understand there's enough. enough out there. I mean, we have 2,500 sales a month happening in our marketplace. There's no way one of you can take all of that business. But
Hmm.
if you have a lead, someone else on the team doesn't have a lead. So if you're helping them, it's not like you're helping out your competition, if you will.
Hmm.
So I think those things absolutely play in together.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense to me. So culture is a big part of retention. You mentioned your system is a full loop of, attracting, onboarding, getting folks to make money as fast as possible, and then retaining. Tell us a little bit about what you've done to help on the retention side. Like what are there certain things you're doing that you've implemented and you've noticed once we started doing this, retention went up? Or yeah, let me just hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Um, I think really as a team leader, listening to your agents is huge. Um, from a retention standpoint, because I think a lot of team leaders are scared if I get these people up and selling, they're going to leave me. They don't have to. They could, but they don't have to. And you're always going to occasionally lose somebody. Like I know that happens. But I think if you can create a culture where your agents see there's endless growth opportunities here and you can be open-minded and more minded about them and the whole versus me and my ego and my, that kind of mentality, you're going to keep your people here. So every year we do an end of year survey and ask all the questions and let them lay it on. And we always take it into account and try to make changes to match what they want. If there's a technology or there's a lead source or staffing, whatever that is, we're always really listening to our agents to do that. We are constantly having like competitions. So in March, we did March Madness. And so we divided our team up on I think it was 5 teams. And it was, see, what was it? A buyer contract was 1 point. We call that a free throw. A listing taken was 2 points. And then a listing sold was a 3 pointer. And then for every two Google reviews you got, you could take 2 points away from another team. So that was defense. And oh my goodness, like we had our office decorated for March Madness. It was so much fun. Everyone had a blast. Like last night, we took our team out to a really nice steakhouse because in March they sold 101 homes. And
That's
so we'll set big
amazing.
goals and we're like, okay, whenever you hit this, we'll take you and your significant others out to a nice steak dinner and celebrate you guys. Like that's so much fun. We're constantly doing stuff like that. Every month, we recognize our agents in our team meeting of life events. What do they accomplish? We celebrate their wins. Recognition is a huge driving factor of agents. So you want to celebrate them on social media, celebrate them in front of their peers, like personally go up to them and be like, hey, really great job. Like, I'm so glad you did that. Or even if they're struggling, like reach out, like, hey, what's going on? Like things seem off. And yesterday I noticed that and I sat down with one of our team members and they're like, my marriage. And I was like, all right, tell me about that. What's happening?
Well,
How can I support you? Because a lot of times I think we just want to get narrowed in on the real estate side, but life as a
mhm.
whole can affect people. And it's like, all right, well, let's work through that. How do we help you be successful and still do what needs to happen there? So I think just as a team leader, you and all of your leadership around you have to care about the individual as a whole and really listen and have things going on here that help them win, keep them excited, build those relationships. When you do that, they're going to stay. They're not going to leave. If they see it just keep getting better and better, they're not going to go anywhere.
Mentally, I was so dialed into the real estate side of the equation, it didn't even occur to me that a retention component could be, hey, I'm struggling with something outside of work. So as a team leader, how do you walk that line of like, I'm technically your boss, but also if you have something going on outside of work, it's going to impact how happy you are here. How do you
Yeah, I
walk the
mean,
line of professional and personal life?
right. I have removed myself from a lot of those conversations. So a lot of those are had by our sales manager. But obviously there's times where I'm having them. And so usually what we're doing is we're paying attention to the consistent numbers and patterns of our agents. And when you start to see somebody falling off, of where they're normally showing up to meetings and they're not, or their numbers aren't there, or they're not claiming their leads, or their sales have fallen off, and you're like, okay, something's off here. Um, and so it's just pulling them in, like, hey, we've noticed a shift in blank. We just wanted to check in on you. How are you doing? What's going on? Um, and then normally they'll open up and be like, well, blah 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 is happening, and you listen to it and you go, okay, so talk to me about, what's the best way to help you move forward through that? And you just listen and help them guide it. But the reality is, if you have a job any other place and something else is going on in your life, for the most part, I understand there's a few extreme circumstances, you're still showing up to work. And almost work gets to be that reprieve where even when I went through some hard things in my life, work was my reprieve. Like I was like, I'm going to put my personal life in a box for the next 8 or 10 hours. I get to focus on this, what I can control, and not have to be dealing with all the stuff going on outside of my control. I still had to earn money. I still had to do those things because not having income made it worse. And so it's really more of just not buying into the story, because real estate agents have more stories than you could ever imagine. But it's taking it and going, okay, how do we actually help you navigate a path forward that helps you still hit your goals and deal with whatever's going on, and giving them those tools and guidance and accountability to kind of do that. That's I feel like kind of the balance of what that looks like.
That makes sense. And you're 100% right. If you let those stories prevent you from getting your work done and you're closing less and your income goes down, it's a negative reinforcing loop. Things just get harder and worse and worse and worse. So you do have to, toe that line with them.
Oh yeah.
Um, no, I definitely appreciate that. And hopefully they appreciate the honesty of sharing, of like letting them know, hey, if you start slacking here, this is going to make your problem harder, not easier.
Yeah. And they
I
do.
get that.
And most of them are like, well, I know it is, but I don't know how to blank. Well,
Hmm.
we've all had a lot of life experiences and things not going great. I mean, nobody's life goes perfect 100% of the time. So it's, what do you like? I tell them all the time, I'm like, it's the storm refines you, right? So it's,
Hmm.
how do you come out on the other end? Like, does it make you stronger or does it make you weaker? Like, how do you get through it? And so it's like, all right, you just have to have a plan for how to get through it. And so
The
that's how you
craziest,
help them figure that out.
the craziest story I've ever heard in this situation was one of our developers at Rooster is in Ukraine, and when the Ukraine war started, he called into one of our internal meetings from a like bomb shelter. It was like, bro, like you have literal bombs being dropped on you. Like, go be safe. Like, this is an
Yeah,
extenuating circumstance. And he goes, and he said, like, working helps me not focus on like the actual bombs being dropped on my head right now.
right.
And so that was after I heard that story, I was like, all right, nothing I face will ever be that bad. Like,
It's
no one's
true.
dropping bombs on me.
But here's
Um,
here's the part of that too that he's probably not saying is he's dependent on this income. He's dependent on this job. Like, he probably can't survive if he doesn't have it. And I do think that's one thing I've learned as a real estate agent or team leader, should I say, is if you have agents coming in and they're doing this because they like HGTV, their kids are in school, like they want like something to do, they're not going to be successful. And so if they don't have to earn money, and we do have a couple agents here that don't have to earn money, but they're so driven by goals that it doesn't matter that they don't need to earn money. So they're still doing their job every day. But if you don't have one of those two components, you can throw all the systems, all the leads, all the training, all the things at them, they won't be successful.
that's that's advice every team leader needs to hear because I think I've heard it a million times. Team leaders making an excuse to keep someone on their team who's like a part-timer or substandards because they don't have that I need to earn an income for my family component to their life. Um, so what I'm hearing you say is like that's got to be what you're evaluating new recruits or new agents against is like, do they need to be doing this?
Right.
Because if they don't need to, they're probably not going to meet the standard.
Right. Well, like you said earlier, your agents are one of your biggest recruiting tools out in the field, right?
Mm.
So you don't have somebody living up to the standards of your organization, plugging in, matching your culture, but they're out there telling people who they work for. And then an agent on the other side of a transaction's like, holy cow, this person has no idea what they're doing. Like, I would
Mm.
never want to work with this person again. That's right there affecting your recruiting. You want to make
Mm.
sure that who's out there is representing what you want to be representing. It's not just like, well, I really like them. Yeah, there's a lot of people I really like, but I have to protect my culture, my name of my company. Like that isn't just for me. That is for the 40 other people that work here. And so that plays into it too, a huge part of it.
No, that's great, and I think that's where we can wrap up today. Um, I want to leave on that note that what you just said, the way your agents act out in the marketplace and the quality of work that they do is a reflection of not only you but of the whole organization. So one person's negative uh, someone who doesn't do a great job in the marketplace can negatively impact the whole of the agents, and you have to protect everybody, not just yourself. So I love that. Breann, thank you for spending some time with us here this afternoon. Thanks for dealing with the technical difficulties earlier before we got started. I appreciate your graciousness there, and thank you for being a valued member of the flock.
Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate getting to do this for you and love working with you guys.
Awesome. It's been great. Have a great day.
You too.
Cheers.